For thousands of years, people have told stories about creatures that lurked in the darkness, beings that hunted the innocent, haunted lonely roads, or waited just beyond the edge of the firelight. Many of these terrifying legends were never meant to entertain. They were warnings, born from fear, mystery, and real beliefs that shaped entire civilizations. Long before Halloween became a night of costumes and glowing pumpkins, people genuinely believed that supernatural beings could cross into the human world. They feared spirits that wandered after sunset, witches who were said to command dark powers, and mysterious creatures blamed for disappearances, strange illnesses, and unexplained events. Whether these stories were true or not didn't matter. The fear they created was very real. As centuries passed, these ancient legends survived. They were passed from one generation to the next, changing with every retelling, until they became the iconic monsters we recognize today. Behind every Halloween costume lies a story that is far older and far more fascinating than most people realize. In this video, we're counting down on the 10 most legendary Halloween monsters, uncovering the forgotten folklore, ancient myths, and surprising historical origins behind each one. Some were once believed to be real. Others became symbols of humanity's darkest fears. And by the time we reach number 1, you'll discover the monster whose legend has haunted people for centuries and helped shape Halloween itself. Let's begin our countdown. 10. Jack-o'-lantern. Every Halloween, millions of glowing pumpkins appear on doorsteps, front yards, and windows. They're one of the most recognizable symbols of the holiday. But few people realize that the jack-o'-lantern wasn't created as a decoration. It began with a dark legend that has been told in Ireland for hundreds of years. According to Irish folklore, there was a clever but dishonest man known as Stingy Jack. Legend says he repeatedly tricked the devil into making promises that his soul would never be taken. When Jack eventually died, he was rejected from heaven because of the life he had lived. But the devil also refused to let him enter hell, keeping the promise he had made. Instead, Jack was forced to wander the earth forever. To light his endless journey through the darkness, the devil tossed him a single burning coal. Jack placed the glowing ember inside a hollowed-out turnip, creating a lantern that would guide him through the night. From that moment on, people said his restless spirit could still be seen roaming lonely roads after sunset, carrying his mysterious light through the darkness. Fearing that wandering spirits might come to their homes, people in Ireland and Scotland began carving frightening faces into turnips and placing candles inside them. They believed these glowing lanterns would scare away evil spirits during the nights when the boundary between the living and the dead was believed to be at its weakest. When Irish immigrants arrived in North America during the 19th century, they discovered that pumpkins were much larger, easier to carve, and far more common than turnips. Over time, the pumpkin replaced the turnip, giving birth to the famous jack-o'-lantern that has become one of Halloween's greatest symbols. Today, most people see it as a fun decoration, but behind every glowing pumpkin is a centuries-old legend about a man condemned to wander the darkness forever, carrying nothing but a flickering light to guide his endless path. 9. The Witch. Few Halloween costumes are as famous as the witch dressed in black, wearing a pointed hat and flying across the night sky on a broomstick. But the real history behind witches is far older and far more unsettling than the image we know today. For thousands of years, nearly every civilization told stories about people who could use mysterious powers to heal, curse, or communicate with unseen forces. In many ancient cultures, these individuals were respected as healers or spiritual guides. But as fear and superstition spread across Europe, that image began to change. By the late Middle Ages, many people believed witches had made secret agreements with dark forces. Crops that suddenly failed, unexplained illnesses, violent storms, or mysterious deaths were often blamed on witchcraft. Without scientific explanations, fear took control, and suspicion spread from village to village. During the 16th and 17th centuries, Europe experienced one of history's most infamous periods of mass hysteria. Thousands of men and women were accused of being witches. Many were put on trial based on rumors, fear, or superstition rather than real evidence. Families turned against neighbors, and entire communities lived in constant fear of hidden enemies. As these stories spread through books, legends, and folklore, the witch slowly transformed into the iconic Halloween figure we recognize today, a mysterious woman flying on a broom beneath the moonlight, carrying spells, black cats, and bubbling potions. Today, witches are a symbol of Halloween celebrations around the world. Yet behind the costume lies a history shaped by centuries of fear, misunderstanding, and folklore that still fascinates people to this day. 8. Ghosts. Almost every culture on Earth has one thing in common, a belief that the dead do not always leave the world of the living. Long before haunted houses became Halloween attractions, stories of restless spirits were passed down through generations, warning people to respect the unknown. In ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Greece, Rome, China, and Japan, many believed that the soul continued its journey after death. But if that journey was interrupted by unfinished business, injustice, or forgotten burial rituals, the spirit could remain behind. These restless souls were said to appear as silent figures, mysterious shadows, or strange lights that vanished as quickly as they appeared. As these beliefs spread across Europe, they became closely connected with the traditions that eventually shaped Halloween. During the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, people believed the boundary between the living and the dead became thinner on one special night each year. Families lit fires, wore disguises, and left offerings outside their homes, hoping to protect themselves from wandering spirits. Over the centuries, those traditions blended with new customs, and ghosts became one of Halloween's most recognizable symbols. White sheets, haunted houses, glowing cemeteries, and eerie ghost stories all trace their roots back to centuries-old beliefs about the spirit world. Whether ghosts truly exist remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Yet their legends have survived for thousands of years, reminding us that humanity has always wondered the same haunting question: what, if anything, waits for us after death? 7. Zombie. When most people hear the word zombie, they imagine endless crowds of the undead wandering through abandoned streets. But the original zombie legend had nothing to do with apocalyptic movies. Its roots can be traced to the Caribbean nation of Haiti, where the story began centuries ago. According to Haitian folklore, a zombie was believed to be a person who had lost their free will after falling under the control of a powerful sorcerer, often referred to as a bokor. Unlike modern films, these early zombies were not portrayed as monsters searching for victims. Instead, they were seen as tragic figures, people whose minds and independence had been taken from them. These beliefs grew from a mixture of West African spiritual traditions and local customs that developed in Haiti over hundreds of years. For many communities, the zombie was more than just a frightening tale. It served as a warning about the loss of freedom, identity, and control over one's own life. Everything changed during the 20th century when writers and filmmakers discovered the legend. They reimagined the zombie as a walking corpse, creating the version that would later dominate books, television, and Hollywood movies. With every new story, the creature became more terrifying, eventually turning into one of the most recognizable monsters in popular culture. Today, zombies are a major part of Halloween celebrations around the world. Yet behind the makeup and costumes lies a legend that began not as a story about monsters, but as a deeply rooted piece of Haitian folklore, one that continues to fascinate historians and storytellers alike. 6. The Headless Horseman. Imagine standing alone on a quiet country road after sunset. In the distance, you hear the sound of galloping hooves growing louder. As the rider comes into view, you realize something impossible. He has no head. The legend of the Headless Horseman is one of the oldest and most enduring ghost stories in European folklore. Similar tales appeared in Ireland, Germany, and Scandinavia centuries before they became famous in America. In many versions, the mysterious rider was believed to be a restless spirit, endlessly searching for what had been lost. The story became world famous in 1820 when American author Washington Irving published The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Set in a quiet village near New York, the tale follows a terrifying rider said to roam the countryside at night, frightening anyone unlucky enough to cross his path. The story quickly became a Halloween classic, blending mystery, suspense, and local folklore into one unforgettable legend. Over time, the Headless Horseman became a symbol of Halloween itself. His dark silhouette, the sound of a speeding horse, and the image of a rider carrying a glowing jack-o'-lantern instead of a head have appeared in countless books, films, and haunted attractions. Whether the horseman was ever more than a legend is impossible to know. But for more than 2 centuries, his midnight ride has remained one of the most chilling stories told every Halloween, proving that sometimes the most frightening monsters are the ones you never see until it's too late. 5. Werewolf. What if the person standing beside you during the day became something completely different after nightfall? For thousands of years, people across Europe believed that certain individuals could transform into savage wolves under the light of the full moon. Whether these stories were fact or fiction, they inspired one of history's most feared monsters, the werewolf. Legends of human to wolf transformations date back to ancient times. In Greek mythology, The story of King Lycaon tells of a ruler who was transformed into a wolf after angering the gods. As the centuries passed, similar tales spread across France, Germany, Eastern Europe, and the Nordic countries. Each culture had its own version, but the warning was always the same. Somewhere in the wilderness, a creature existed that was both human and beast. During the Middle Ages, fear of werewolves became so intense that rumors often spread through entire villages. When livestock disappeared or unexplained attacks occurred, some communities believed a werewolf was responsible. Without scientific knowledge to explain strange events, folklore filled the gaps, making the legend grow stronger with every generation. Over time, storytellers added new details to the myth. The full moon, extraordinary strength, and the struggle between human nature and animal instinct became defining parts of the werewolf's identity. These ideas eventually inspired countless novels, films, and Halloween traditions. Today, the werewolf is one of Halloween's most iconic monsters, but behind the sharp claws and glowing eyes lies a legend that has survived for thousands of years, a story born from humanity's ancient fear of the wild and the terrifying possibility that the real monster might be hiding beneath a human face. 4. Vampire few monsters have captured the world's imagination quite like the vampire. With pale skin, sharp fangs, and an endless thirst for blood, vampires have become one of Halloween's most iconic figures. But long before they appeared in movies and novels, many people genuinely believed these creatures walked among the living. The vampire legend grew throughout Eastern Europe, especially in regions that are now Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, and neighboring countries. Centuries ago, when disease spread through villages and medical knowledge was limited, people searched for explanations they could understand. If several family members died within a short time or strange events followed a burial, rumors of vampires often began to spread. Fear soon turned into folklore. Stories described mysterious beings that returned from the grave under the cover of darkness, bringing fear wherever they appeared. While every region told the tale differently, the message was always the same. Some evils were believed to continue even after death. In 1897, everything changed when Irish author Bram Stoker published Dracula. Inspired by earlier vampire legends, the novel transformed the creature into the elegant yet terrifying character recognized around the world today. From that moment on, vampires became a permanent part of books, films, television, and Halloween celebrations. Today, vampire costumes are among the most popular every Halloween. Yet behind the famous black cape and pointed fangs lies a legend shaped by centuries of fear, folklore, and humanity's search for answers in a world filled with mystery. 3. The Boogeyman. Almost every child, no matter where they grow up, has heard a warning about a mysterious creature hiding in the darkness. It may live under the bed, inside the closet, or just beyond the bedroom door. Different countries give it different names, but the idea is almost universal. It is known as the Boogeyman. Unlike most Halloween monsters, the Boogeyman has no single appearance. In some legends, it is described as a shadow with glowing eyes. In others, it is a tall figure that silently watches from the darkness. Many stories never describe the creature at all, allowing people's imaginations to create something even more terrifying. The legend can be traced back hundreds of years through European folklore, where parents used frightening stories to teach children important lessons. Instead of wandering outside after dark or ignoring their families, children were warned that the Boogeyman might be waiting for anyone who broke the rules. Over time, similar stories appeared across Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and the Americas, each culture creating its own version of the mysterious figure. Because the Boogeyman has no true face, it became one of history's most powerful legends. Every generation imagined the creature differently, allowing the myth to survive for centuries without ever being tied to a single story. Today, the Boogeyman remains one of Halloween's most unsettling symbols, not because people know what it looks like, but because no one does. Sometimes, the greatest fear comes from the things our minds cannot fully explain. 2. The Grim Reaper. When people imagine death itself, one image appears again and again, a tall figure hidden beneath a black hood, carrying a long scythe and silently waiting in the shadows. This mysterious being is known as the Grim Reaper, one of the most recognizable symbols of Halloween. The image of the Grim Reaper first became widespread in Europe during the 14th century, when the devastating Black Death swept across the continent. As millions of lives were lost, artists and storytellers searched for a way to represent death itself. They imagined it as a silent figure dressed in a dark robe, carrying a farmer's scythe, a symbol that Just as crops are harvested from the fields, every human life would one day come to an end. Unlike many other Halloween monsters, the Grim Reaper was never seen as a creature that hunted people for pleasure. Instead, it represented the unavoidable passage of time and the certainty that every life has an ending. Across different cultures, similar figures appeared with different names, but they all shared the same purpose: guiding souls from the world of the living to whatever came next. Over the centuries, the Grim Reaper became one of the most powerful images in art, literature, and folklore. His silent presence appeared in paintings, poems, books, films, and eventually Halloween decorations around the world. Today, the Grim Reaper is often seen as just another Halloween costume. Yet behind the black cloak and skeletal face lies a symbol that has reminded humanity of life's greatest mystery for hundreds of years. And now, only one legend remains: the monster that has become the ultimate face of Halloween itself. 1. The Devil. At the top of our countdown is the figure that has influenced more Halloween legends than any other: the Devil. Across centuries of folklore, religion, and storytelling, no character has been more closely associated with fear, temptation, and the unknown. For thousands of years, different cultures told stories about a powerful force that tempted humanity to choose darkness over light. Although these beliefs varied from one civilization to another, they shared a common idea: evil could not always be seen, but its influence could be felt. During the Middle Ages, stories about the devil became deeply woven into European folklore. Many mysterious events that people could not explain, strange disappearances, frightening dreams, unexplained sounds in the night, or unusual behavior, were sometimes attributed to supernatural forces. These tales spread through villages for generations, growing more dramatic with every retelling. The devil also became closely connected with Halloween through older traditions surrounding All Hallows' Eve, a night when many believed the boundary between the natural and supernatural worlds was at its weakest. Over time, artists, writers, and filmmakers turned this mysterious figure into one of the holiday's most recognizable symbols, appearing in costumes, decorations, haunted attractions, and countless stories. Today, the devil remains one of Halloween's most iconic characters, not because people agree on what he looks like, but because the idea of confronting humanity's darkest fears has existed for centuries. While many Halloween monsters were inspired by a single legend or region, the devil's influence can be found in myths and stories from around the world, making him the ultimate symbol to end our countdown. So the next time you see glowing pumpkins, witches flying across the night sky, ghosts wandering through haunted houses, or vampires and werewolves filling the streets on Halloween, remember that these costumes are more than just decorations. They are echoes of ancient legends, forgotten folklore, and the fears that have fascinated humanity for thousands of years.